Hey, we're live. Give us a wave in chat. Oh, one person. who's the one loyal person that's on YouTube's? Oh, 5 now. Hello. Give us a wave in chat, and we'll kick off. I just want to put my phone on silent. Hey, Sean. I'm running on coffee today. I won't say why. I'm just. Right. So we touched a little bit on it on one of the first episodes, or the second episode, or something. Yeah, that's exactly why, Sean. But we're going to touch upon again today the very basic models that back Hablytics. So it's diary tagging. The tags themselves, the actual name of them are shared. So once somebody's created one, they're all the same. And you attach to the same tag, and then a user can have multiple diaries. So here we have our user model with its two relationships to diary. This is basically a to and fro relationship. So it's a user has many diaries, and a diary belongs to many users in essence. And then the diary and the tag relationship is set up via a pivot table. So we'll cover those. And to be honest, so actually is this user and diary relationship. So there are these two models here, or these three models. We'll have two models as well, or two tables backing them to form pivots between the two. So those pivots will hold the user ID and the diary.id, or the diary ID and the tag ID, for example, to join those together. So yeah, we're going to touch upon building these out today. Now the Laravel SD.com website does allow you to export all as a zip, or you can, if you're logged in. So, logged in a moment ago. There we go. So log in. Export all. We'll export literally all. So the controllers, the models, and the schema. Schema being the migrations, so we'll cover those in a moment as well when we get to them. So I'm going to export all here, get a little zip file, which I'm hoping you can see, I'm not too sure, and it contained within, so if we extract this somewhere, yeah, sorry, you won't be able to see this, one sec. So if you just chuck it in here, Laravel SD, pop it in there, and then we can open that in Sublime and have a little look at what it's actually created for us. So over to Sublime, which you will be able to see in a moment, hopefully. We will add a folder. Can't do it that way, I'll just drag it in, one sec. So in my documents now, I have a Laravel SD export. Here we go. So, hopefully you can see this. I'm kind of staring over at the screen over there and having a look on my phone. I don't know whether this toolbar's gotten, the sidebar's gotten big enough, but I will describe everything we're going through. But you'll notice this pairs up with our Laravel project. So we have an app, a database, a resources, and a routes folder in the export, and contained within are basically everything we need to establish the models that we've built inside of Laravel SD. So here we have a diary controller for our diary model. Here we have our diary model, and in the migrations folder we have our diary migration. All very simple. I will walk us through them. So migrations are to establish your actual database. So Laravel will connect up to a whole suite of database backends, database layers via Eloquent, and it will use migrations in order to create the required tables or schemas essentially in those databases for you, and then on top of that you'll use a model to then basically represent that table, represent those entities within Laravel, and you can then begin to query your model, which will write the valid database driver, the valid query, make that query to your database, whatever that is, and then return the data required. So, or found, sorry, I guess. Right, now, like I say, we aren't going to, or like I said last week, we aren't actually going to use Laravel SD exports, but we are going to use them as kind of a basis. So they will give us some hints. However, there's a few things in Laravel that have been updated. For example, this table increments now can be replaced with the ID migration, and a bunch of things like that. But it will also help for building up a project without Laravel SD alongside. But so it just gives us kind of a representation, something that we can work with, something everyone can look at. Cool. So if we drop over to our terminal and don't show the entire contents of my home directory, and instead go and look for that's Nordell Gatsby. That's a website. Oh, Jesus, Jumps is not going to get me there, is it? Tom, shut up, my Christ. There we go. So, Habalytics. This is our PHP project here. We will get our Docker images running. So, Docker Composer. Who was talking about that? Yeah, I think it was Damien recently, who types Docker Composer instead. Yeah, anyway. Sweet, we have our MySQL container and our WW container booted up. That's pretty sweet. Let's just make sure they're still alive. They are. Excellent. So, with Laravel, we have the artisan command. And within the artisan command is a bunch of generators here under the make namespace. Not all of the things, but most of the things can be scaffolded out with one of these make commands, one of these generators. So we shall use one of those, and I believe this one here, make resource, will actually make us the migration, the model, the factory that goes with it. Don't worry if none of that makes any sense, we will cover them. So if we issue the artisan make resource, and we want to make our diary resource first of all, so let's do that. We have created a resource. Now I don't know whether this is what I think it is, but we're about to find out. It isn't, it's a HTTP resource. Okay, so no, that is not what I wanted. It's maybe the make model command that will generate us all of the appropriate. So let's have a look at the make model command. There we go. So issued with a -a, it will generate a migration, a seeder, a factory, and a resource controller for the model. Now Laravel SD generated us all but one of those, which is the factory. I think it can generate them, and I think it does create kind of this, maybe not, a database seeder here, but let us do that. So we're going to make model diary. Ah, jeez. It helps if we issue it with a -a. Model exists. Brilliant. So let's just come in there, and where is it? A little bit lost. There we go, diary. So we'll just delete that for now. and actually issue this with a -a so we get the migrations. There we go. So it's created our model, which we just deleted, and it's created a factory, and it's created a seeder, a migration, and a controller as well. So let's go through all those. So we'll first dip our toes into the migration. So this is to establish the, not in resources, we won't. This is to establish the entry in our whatever database we're using. So you have an up method and a down method, and basically you produce whatever you would like in our up method, but we need to make sure that we take it down in our down method. So it's a rolling, it allows it to roll back. So in our up method, we will create a schema of diaries, and it will have IDs. And we decided it would also have a string of name, I believe. So if we go and quickly have a look at the migrations that were created by Laravel SD, you can pop them alongside. We will create a string of name, and we'll have timestamps. Pretty simple, straightforward. We will then need to update our other areas. So we have a model that goes with this over here, and what you'll have noticed within the Laravel SD export is it will have given us a bunch of fillable attributes, timestamps, telling us that timestamps is on true, and we've also got some methods in here for establishing our relationships. So our relationship of events is to the app tag model, and the user's relationship is to the app user model. That we have got an app user, but we yet to create the app tag. So we actually have created the diaries as diaries, and I'm pretty sure final last words, but I'm pretty sure that Laravel will assume the diaries model, the diaries table from diary, but we're about to find out, I guess. So we will just have to give it a fillable attribute. Now this tells Laravel what it's allowed to generate in bulk, essentially. So which columns in the model are allowed to be assigned. Well, in bulk, like I just said, really, I'm repeating myself. So we'll just say that the name column is fillable, and then we're going to create these relationships, and like I say, these are public methods. They can be named whatever you like. But we're going to call them events for this particular instance because a diary has a bunch of events. And as has been demonstrated here, we're going to just say it return this. So this model belongs to many, and that the difference between the belongs to and the belongs to many is that if we were to want single tags that are only ever owned by this diary, we could assign them as a belongs to, and that would enable require that the tags table, the tags database itself, had a diary ID column, and that diary ID column would be the one that was tracking which diaries that tag was associated with. If we use the belongs to many method, we're going to implement a pivot table, and then the pivot table will assign those relationships with that user ID and a diary ID either side. Oh, sorry, a tag and a diary ID either side. So there's a few ways we can do this. They have used a string here. I quite actually prefer these days to import the model that we're associating with. This one is not going to exist for the time being, but we'll create it before we start using it. And then we can use tag and then just ask it for its class, which is a static property on PHP classes, and it will give us app/tag, so it will give us exactly this. But it's just a little it's associated. You can track this. So if app/tag for whatever reason gets renamed, it's quite difficult to pick them up in perhaps here. A lot easier to pick them up in use statements, and also a bunch of IDE tracking if you were using IDEs would give you resolutions on that and tell you that model doesn't exist anymore and stuff like that. So tend to do it that way around. We're then going to say, like I say, that there is a pivot table involved. Now it belongs to many, so it has to have a pivot table. But in this instance, we're going to say that there's actually an extra field on that pivot table, and that's the field of value. Because, like I say, these tags can be assigned an amount, a number. So, yeah, we'd like to get that when we get the events. And we'll also say that we would like the timestamps, because they will come in handy for telling us when something was created, right? So that will be the timestamps on the actual pivot. And, yeah, will give us a general idea of when somebody's tagged, rather than when the tag itself was created. Then we need to actually assign these, users to, these diaries to users. And again, don't know what happened there, but we'll put our brace on a new line. So we're going to return, and again, we're going to use the belongs to many. Now, this is an interesting decision, perhaps, in the application. Now, this could be a diary only belongs to one user, and then the diary itself could have a user ID, right? But for some weird reason, I have an idea that perhaps users would want to share their diaries. Maybe not a personal private log, perhaps, but perhaps as a corporate diary that you keep with tags within that. So we're going to enable somebody to have multiple diaries, and also to belong to multiple diaries as well. So we're going to use, again, the user class static, and then we're going to import our user, because my IDE does not do that for me, of course. And then again, with this, we don't have anything on our pivot, although we potentially could add a role to that. But for now, we're just going to say with timestamps, and that'll do, I think. So that's our diary model built. Off the back of our diary migrations. So we now have a migration for the diary, create diaries table, and we have our model. Cool. We've got our controller in the app HTTP controllers namespace. Now this is a resource controller. So Laravel ships with either basically a standard controller in which you type hint the methods, or not type hint, but you tell it which methods a particular route is assigned to. With models, you can actually just assign a resource controller, and it gets a bunch of, or it expects, a bunch of methods: index, create, store, show, edit, update, and destroy. Basically the every endpoint of CRUD, right? So this will display a listing of a diary, or rather, you would write some code to do that. The create is actually the view, so this would be for, like it just says, showing a form for creating the new resource. The store will take the request, so this is a post request, and store it in the database. The show will show a single diary. Now, because this is a resource controller, what actually would come through usually is perhaps an ID for this show. But if we type hint, so if we tell it that the app diary is what we're expecting to get here, Laravel will do some stuff in the background to basically fetch us this diary entry. And the same can be said for the edit. So when and that's again is the same as your create method. So this is the view for editing a particular resource. So you'd render a form with the fields pre-filled perhaps. And then this is the post response. So yeah, the posting it back the contents of this edit form, and then finally a destroy endpoint here that will respond to the I can't remember what the HTTP method is now off the top of my head, but the destroy HTTP method with an ID. Cool. So this is all just scaffold at the moment. I'm not going to do anything. So I can't decide whether to do this controller now, but I think I'm going to leave it. What we're also going to need to do is establish some users, and we'll cover that today as well, hopefully. So I will leave the controller for now, and we will move on to a factory. So we've got the migrations, just as I said, the models, and we've also got this factory. So let's open our diary factory. Now this has been defined as on the diary class, and it passes in a Faker library. Now Faker is absolutely awesome. If we flip over to Chrome for a moment. And check out the Faker library. It's a PHP library that generates fake data for you, but it comes with a bunch of formatters. So you can generate some lorem ipsum text, person details, phone numbers, companies, internet addresses, payment details. It's all pre-installed with Laravel, so you don't have to. You can ignore all of this. What we can look at is the methods here. So what you've been given when we're past that Faker parameter to our callback there is a factory instance, one of these generators, and you can use the methods. I believe they're here. There we go. Use the methods here to generate whatever data you would like. So there's the person class. You can generate names, address classes, phone numbers, companies, random amounts of text, random date times in any format you like, some email addresses or internets or usernames, user agent, payment details. You know, you get the point. I'm not going to go through them all, but I threw a fair amount of them. What we'll do here is we can use Faker to scaffold out some resources. So if we were testing, in our tests, we can generate some fake data to then use, consume and use within those tests. So what we need to do here is basically return any fields, any fillable fields within the model that we would like to define. So we only have a name on a diary, so we'll use the name key, and our value is going to be one of those Faker methods. Oh, I've just realized I haven't flipped over, so I'll flip over in a second. So what should we use as a fake name for a diary? Let's have a little look, shall we? We could either use the words method. We could use some lorem ipsum. I think I'm probably just going to use the words one, right? Just a few words for your diary. So let's check that out here. What you can do with this is you'll need to keep an eye on the return time. So if I wanted a few words here, that seems like 2 or 3 words perhaps for this, for my title from a diary. I'm going to probably use the sentence method, which returns essentially words, but as a sentence with spaces between them. So if we flip over now to code, we will return a Faker dash sentence, and we'll say we want 3 words in that sentence. Perfect. Now we have a diary factory. We have our migration set up and our model set up. So Excellent. Next, tags. So let's go back to our terminal, just have a quick look to make sure that I'm up to date on YouTube right now. Excellent. So we're going to use that make model command again, the make model artisan command. And this time we're going to call tag and pass in a -a again to create all of the requisites to go with it. Cool. We have a, there it is. We have our tag migration. Just put this on this again. Tag migration, and again, quite a boring schema that I'm blaming you, that I've created here. So tags has a name field. It's, yeah, crazy. So that's our tags migration done. We need to go over to our tag model, and again, the same with our diary. We need to create our fillable attributes and our relationships. So it's a protected fillable array, and it has name. Exciting. And then we're going to create our relationships. I've just called it public method. We're going to create our relationships. I should probably flip over and bring up the Laravel SD export. And we'll just have a quick look at that. No, not that one. We'll have the model. So this is the one that we've got from, oh, curious. This is the one we've got from Laravel SD, and for some reason it doesn't actually have a relationship defined on it. I wonder if that's true. Wonder if that's right. Do we want? Would we ever want to be able to get from a tag to a diary? I don't think so. So for now, let's leave it like this. If we do, it's not the end of the world. We can do that. It will be via the pivot table that's already established, so we can just to add that in. I think we're good. It's already a boring tag model. Okay. One more thing to do is Laravel has been going through a bit of flux with regards to some of the stuff that it ships with out of the box. And one of those things is it used to ship with a lot of Vue, as in the Vue.js front end stuff, and a load of auth views that were built in Bootstrap. They don't pre-ship with those anymore, but you can add them via a new package, Laravel Ui. So I think this change came in place over the course of V7, and it's obviously fully implemented in V8. The other thing that's set to change actually while we're here in V8 is that the which did come out last week, is that actually models now live in the models in a models folder within app. That I think back in the day, so to speak, they did live in a models directory, and then at some point, I think in version 5, but don't quote me on that, they came out of the models directory and they are now at top level within the app namespace, but they're moving back. Yeah, controversial change, but I think I'm there. I think I'll be following suit. Cool. So we've got our migrations. We've got our we didn't make a factory for our tag. So again, it's not going to be very exciting. It's going to return a name. Oops, losing all the keys here. Name, which is a faker generator of a sentence, and we're we'll just go with 3 again. I mean, what we could do in here is actually pass in another faker. So if we flip over to the faker array docs, or docs, I guess, we can get a random digit, and we can get it in between numbers as well. So where is there it is, a number between. So we will pass a fake number between. So let's flip back to code. That's not code, that's code. No, that's terminal. There you go, there's code. So we will actually use the random between and say it's going to be 1 to 5 words for our tag. Alright. Cool. Just one pause for a moment while I just catch up on what we're doing here. Okay. We've got our factories, we've got our migrations. I touched upon seeds. Now, these use our factories in order to generate seed data within the database. It's generated 2 here, along with that -a command. I'm actually going to remove the 2 custom ones, and we'll just look to use this database seeder, not this plain one here. Cool. Right, so I should probably show you what these factories do. So we'll flip over to the terminal, and we'll use an amazing feature of Laravel called the tinker command. Now, with a little bit of luck, the Docker image supports this, but I don't think I've run this since we messed around with this Docker image. So we're in one. We've got a shell now, a REPL shell, with our PHP environment and all of our Laravel stuff ready to go. So, excuse me, what's going on? You can just pop in code to your heart's complete. Yeah, whatever. Right. Factories. So the factory is able to generate as fake data, and what we can do is we can, if I remember the command. It changed recently. I'm going to use that in my defense anyway. It's definitely changed even more in Laravel 8. We'll stick with 7 for now. But there is a slightly different way of running them now. Let's quickly. Oh no. Yeah. Okay. Right. In Laravel 8, I think they're moving so that you would need to call this on the model class, but it looks like we're still good. We can still use a factory helper. So, if we call the factory helper and pass it our diary class, we can call the make method on this, and it has created us a app diary model with our name set, and we have 4 words. I could have sworn I put 3 in that thing, but maybe I didn't. This is the name of our diary, and we can do that many times here. And we're using the make method, which means it's not actually being saved to the database. It's just an app diary model with the faker generation that's been applied. We can also pass in an amount, so let's generate 10 of them, and you'll get them back as a collection. This is really handy for generating test data, basically. Now, I know we didn't say we're going to touch upon tests, but it's really handy as well for when you're in development. So if you've got a development environment where you want to fill it with a load of data rather than putting it in manually and setting it all up, you can do that. And what we can also do is ask the DB, there's a command within PHP Artisan called dbseed, and this will run the database seeder that we spotted across a moment ago. So if I flip over to code again, this will actually run this database seeder here, and we can do things like, for example, call those factories and start generating fake data in the, oops, if I can type, fake data into the system. And we can use the create method, which will actually make it. It will new it up as a new model, and then it will actually save it to the database as well. And then it will return the saved items, and then you can start iterating on them and start adding like relationships and generating kind of tags potentially, and then creating random relationships to those tags as well within this seeder, so that you've got basically a scaffolded, a fake environment in which to start building up your app. We shan't be doing that, but I thought I'd just touch upon factories briefly, because we will use them perhaps whilst we're scaffolding out some of these views. Right, so we have our diary and our tag models. The last model to touch upon is the one that's actually comes pre-shipped. Now I don't know whether this is set to change, but at the moment it's still shipping as a default model. So this is your default user model. It also ships with, in our database. Oh, hey Chris. Thought you were in meetings today. I've forgotten where I was now. I'm not blaming Chris. What was I talking about? Right, yeah. Migrations. It also ships with these three built-in migrations as well. So one to create your user table, one to create the password resets table, and one to create the failed jobs table. That's not to do with auth, but the first two are to do with the authentication system that's kind of basically built in. Now, like I say, built in, so we can start using it immediately, but we don't have any, we'd have to create our own login, registration views, forgot password views, stuff like that. So instead, what we can do is actually pull in a load of that auth scaffolding with the Laravel Ui package. Now, like I say, this used to be built in, but they've kind of just trying to modularize everything, I believe. So if we install Laravel Ui, and I need to check which version I think that we need for 7. So let's just have a quick look. Where's it gone? Right, there we go. We want 2.4. So caret 2.4. Excellent. Oh, don't use Composer install. Composer require. Perfect. We sit and wait. Sort of cool package actually. That Composer is quite slow. If you hadn't spotted that already. There's sort of package at the sadly yes. Sort of package that actually converts it. A global package you can install. I might have a play with it. In fact, I think we saw it inside of I saw it inside of one of the actions that we were using last week, which is a global package that apparently enables parallel downloads, which is pretty cool. Anyway, just spotted. Sadly, yes. Hey, Chris. I can't remember where you went now. Is it Bristol? Was it Bristol? It was definitely a B word. I'm not so definite about that now. Somewhere in that region. Oh, you noped out of that. So where are you then? You're at home. Cool, cool. Well, we're actually writing some code today, so there's a no idea whether we're going to get through. Like, the more I talk to you now, I suppose the less we're going to get through. But no idea if we're going to build all of this. We'll see. We'll see. Right. All right. So we've installed Laravel Ui, which gives us access to a bunch of new PHP artisan commands. So I'm just going to up a couple of times so we get back to that tinker command, because I'm not typing out Docker. Yeah, you get my point anyway. So PHP artisan and then a UI. Yeah, okay. I thought it was going to, say some things about UI namespace. It doesn't. Whoa. I think artisan's been updated. Pretty sure that used to just print. Anyway, right, here we go. We have the two new artisan commands that were installed by UI, and what we can do is we can ask it to use those to scaffold the UI we want. So we'll say UI view, wait, hang on, UI auth. Although I think you can do them all if you just go like this. This should do. Yeah, there we go. So if we look at status, boom, we've got a bunch of new files. We have a range of new views inside of the views auth directory. We have a new home blade.php, and we have a layouts directory as well. So those have all been created in order to present our login. And then we should have, there we go, a bunch of controllers to go with it as well. And to be honest, some resources as well for some pretty things and some JS. Oh, that isn't. Oh, cool. That's not included anymore, apparently. Mind blown. Right, cool. Now we should have a roots definition as well. So root/web.php has been updated. So if we go and have a look in roots/web.php, it's just added this. Oh, actually, it's added both. Added the auth roots and a home controller. So let's go and have a look at the home controller, because I think that's fairly new. Not sure. No, okay. It's kind of just to test your login. So the home controller, it's using in its construct this middleware. Now the auth middleware will check the whatever session or token or cookie or whatever it is you're using to define your sessions. It will check that it is configured. The user is authenticated. So an authenticated user should not be able to visit this root. So our app is running. We have it in Chrome somewhere, I'm sure. So if we flip over now, and if Alex can remember the address, did we put it on 8,000 or 3,000? Who knows? It wasn't 8,000. Apparently it's 3,000. There it is. So it's hello, it's me, Avalytics. All right. So we had a new view. Where is it? Let's go to the web roots. We've got a /home. So let's see what happens. Home. Boom. It's kept me to a login page. A beautiful login page. Look at that. Fantastic. For us to log in, obviously. We should also have a register root. Boom. With a really ugly form again. And this Laravel button should take us back to the home page. Now, it did give us a hint as to why those things are ugly. And that hint came in the form. Can you see, mate? You can't. That hint came in the form of. Ah, are we back? I think we're back. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened there. All right. So yeah, what I was saying, I don't know what point that dropped out, but what I was saying is the reason our login pages are looking fairly minimal, fairly basic, has been hinted at. So in our terminal, if we take a quick look, it said, please run npm install and npm run dev to compile your fresh scaffolding. So let's do exactly that. npm install. Now I have npm installed. It's like I probably covered on the first thing, but it's one of the only package managers and one of the only environments I've got installed actually on my machine. Mainly because it's really easy to manage with MVM. But well, it's probably the main reason, to be honest. But yeah, with PHP and everything else, I kind of run that in Docker. I think the Docker image, this one does actually have Node installed. I think we had a look, but I'm just going to use the npm install that's installed on my machine, which means I need to be careful not to ever run that from within the Docker image, because there could be conflicts with the versions, etc. Cool, and then it told us to run dev. So let's run dev, npm run dev. It's going to boot up a web pack. That's going to start bundling Bootstrap, I think. Good grief. Does anyone want a 1.4 meg app.js out of the box? Nice, nice. Right, let's have a little look what's going on with the login page now. It's looking a bit bootstrappy. It's looking a bit prettier. Well, bootstrappery. So let's go to that register root and let's try to create a user. So we'll create a user. I should probably use this email address, I guess. And I'm going to use this super secure. Actually, this is local machine. So yeah, I'm going to use the super secure password of password and register. Oh. Not going to work. Why? Well, we haven't migrated anything for a start. I don't know why it's not finding the app user, to be fair. But we haven't migrated anything for a start, so the database isn't there. I don't even think we've connected to a database. So let's do some of that. We'll go back to the register root and let's start hooking some of this stuff up. Oh, I've just realised you couldn't see any of that. God damn it, I'm not going to get used to it. I don't know whether I'm going to get used to this pushing buttons to keep you in sync. I might see if there's a way for me to do it. Like where it detects whichever's in focus, maybe? I don't know. I had to play around with trying to get keyboard shortcuts to show up on the screen, on the stream, as well as an overlay, but that didn't work. I'm now wondering as if it's even up to date. Just checking I haven't disconnected. Yeah, there we go. Right, cool. All right, so we have our migrations to run. Let's check whether we've got a database. I'm pretty sure we have a database, right? We have this, oh no, not this one. We have this Mysql image here. So let us play around. Let us try and get connected. We're sending database through a username and a password, so as environmental variables. And we'll set it in here. Let's see what happens. Let's run the migrate. So Docker can. Oh, one moment. Let's just go and take a quick look at that users table. Yep, right. Now this one's the one that comes pre-shipped, like I say. However, you are more than at liberty to start adding fields to this. What I will say is, with migrations, once something's in production, once something's in use, you don't want to be doing this. Okay, so once you've migrated something, don't come in and change the up method. We'll look at how we go about doing that a little bit later, but we can do that with another migration, and we can say that we're going to update the schema, we're going to update the user schema and add a field. But this has never been deployed, and in fact, one of the things that we're going to have to cover in shortly is actually getting it to migrate as part of the CD process, I guess, sorry, as part of the GitHub actions. So we're definitely certain it's never migrated because it's not set up to migrate. So we're just going to add a new flag to the users table of admin. And it's going to have a default of false, which we can just pass across as 0. Perfect. That's our users done. Password reset is fine. Failed jobs is fine. Diaries we covered. Tags we covered. Right. Now, what we also need to establish is the pivot tables between users and diaries and tags. Now, Laravel will expect these tables, these pivot tables, to be named in a particular way, and the way you determine how it's named is alphabetically. So if we go to our users table and we have a look at our users model, we don't have any definitions here at the moment, which we will need to bring in. But if we then also have a look at our diary one, we had these relationships with users, right? So we know that we're going to have a users and a diaries pivot table. So users and diaries, diaries comes first. So we will create a diaries underscore users table to track those relationships. So again, we can use a artisan generator, and we can use the make migration generator, and we can say create the diaries diaries underscore users pivot table. Enter, and it will generate you your new file over here. And in here we need to do some special things. So in here we need to actually establish that relationship. So if we go across to, in fact it didn't. That's curious. I wonder why it hasn't generated them itself. Alright, what we need to do is we need to generate those user ID and those and that diary ID column. And those IDs need to be the same type as the one they're attaching to. So what we could do is, let's trim some of these down. I've got too many tabs open. It's getting in the way. Right. Let's actually, first of all, I've just spotted that it's called it users pivot. We need to actually just delete that. It's diaries users. It's the table it will be expecting, I believe. We'll find out in a minute. Right. So next steps. I need some hints, basically. So bear with. Oops. Where are my notes gone? All right. Cool. So we need to create a field to contain our diary ID, like so. And this is where it comes in a little special. It becomes a little bit different. We need to make a foreign key. We need to tell whatever database that we're using that the diary ID column references a ID on another table. So we say it references, and I'm going to start tabbing those out. So it references ID on, I think, yeah, on diaries. And what we can then do is we can say on delete, we can cascade. Now that last bit basically says that on the deletion of the foreign reference, or on deletion of the entry on diaries, then we're going to cascade that deletion down to this particular item as well. So once the diary gets deleted, then we don't need the diary user relationship anymore. So those two lines will set up our diary ID column with its foreign key references, and then we'll copy and paste that, swap this out for a user ID, and we'll say that that is the users table, and again it's going to reference the ID and it's going to on delete cascade. Excellent. So that's if the user gets deleted, the relationship to the diary gets deleted, but the actual diary itself will survive, I believe. But we can potentially cascade the deletion of this down to the diary if we liked. Okay, I think that's the kitty. So this is our diary users pivot table. We now also need one to go between diaries and tags. And we need to remember that that field needs a value as well, a column to hold our value. So we will make migration again, and we're going to say this time that we're going between diaries and tags. Diaries being before it alphabetically, we will say diaries, tags, pivot table. And again, we're going to need to look out for the fact that it's called it diaries underscore tags underscore pivot. So we'll just multi-select those and delete the pivot bit off the end there. Excellent. So now if we go over to our users one that we set up, I'm going to cheat a little bit and we're going to copy this little manifest out, which is why I can never remember it, which is why I had to put it in my notes. So don't be like me, I guess. So we've got diary ID, referencing foreign ID, on ID on diaries with a cascade again. And then we want a tag ID. Oops, we do want to multi-select that there. So tag, and then we need to update the table it's on. It's on the tags table as we've created. All right, I think. Oh, nearly forgot it. What shout out to another call dripping. Oh, sorry, I haven't been keeping up a chat. Anyone going to go to this spot check now? I said it. What else do we need on this table? Get a little bit of audience participation. So this is the pivot between the diary and a tag. How long do I wait? No. All right. We need another column on this pivot, and it's the column that we referenced when we were talking about the diary relationship, and that is this value. So in here we're going to add a table, and we're going to use string. They are usually numbers. So we could use numbers, but I'm going to keep it a string, and I don't know why. Argue with amongst yourselves in chat, I guess, or argue against me. Table string value, done. Perfect. All right. So we have all of our migrations that I'm aware of. Pretty sure. I'm going to just check my notes again. Yeah. Perfect. We have them all. So now we can ask Laravel to actually run them. So if we say, again, going to that www Docker image, sorry, we're going to run php artisan migrate. Enter. Oh, there we go. It's blown up. So we did something wrong here. Let us see. So we got as far as the first pivot table. What's the issue? I think it's going to be how to create table, how to edit diaries users, incorrectly formed. I think that's because the ID fields don't match. I think we're about to find. Yeah, I think that is exactly what it is. Actually, I've done them as strings, and I even mentioned it a little bit in the chat, but they should be whatever table ID is. So let us go and have a quick look. I think it's a big increments field, but we'll just have a quick look. it is the alias of big increments. Yeah, that's exactly it. Right, so if you come in here and update the columns that we're creating and call them big increments. Wait, hang on, I don't even think that's going to work either, because that's big. It's big increments ID. Yeah, no, I don't need we don't want an auto incrementing field. We just want a big integer. That's what we want. One of those big integers. All right. So there's a big integer on that column, and then the same on the other column. Oh, Jesus. Oh, I made a total mess of it now. There we go. Is that one right? Big integer, foreign, perfect. Right. Yeah, okay. So, we're going to use a slightly different command this time. We're going to use the migrate fresh. And what that will do is it will roll back all of your migrations and start from afresh. Like so. And still blow up, apparently. Alright, so where did we get to? The same. Can't create table, diaries users. Why? Yeah. Zoom in on the terminal a little bit. Is that better? It's a really helpful error, can't create table. The foreign key constraint is incorrectly formed. How strange. All right, let's have a look at the database that we've got. So I want I've got a little command that will give me an IP address for my Docker image. Now you're gonna have to excuse me because I'm gonna have to go to Mysql Workbench now, and I have not set that up on OBS. So bear with me just a moment. I will talk you through what I'm doing, I guess. So I'm going to grab that IP address out. Oops, and try and get my Mysql Workbench to connect to it. There we go. Close. Open. Right, let's have a look. Tables. In the diaries table. What's that column? Oops. Table inspector. Begin unsigned. Ah, is that the reason? So, feel obliged to state that I don't usually use ints. I actually usually use a UUID for my ID field, which means I don't know what we need to do here. So 1 second. Unsigned big integer. I think this is the, yeah. So I'm creating a big integer. I've had a look in the database and it's an unsigned big integer. So bit of luck. If we update our method now to change this to be an unsigned big integer, it's gonna work or I'm going to start crying. Yes! So that was the problem. The field that you're referencing has to be the same. So because this is a little bit of an abstraction, we need to go around the houses in order to find out what it actually creates. But it's an unsigned big integer. So now we know. That was fun. All right. So we have a database. So if we go back to Tinker, I love the name as well. Love everything about Tinker. If we go to Tinker and now issue to to our factory. We can also do up and down works in here. Awesome is that. Oh, from an old session as well. Cool. So we ran this last time and it made one, but it didn't save it, right? So what we can do instead is say create, and bingo bango, we have bingo bango. What even is that? An updated and a created at time and an ID, and we can do that over and over again. Let's have 10 of them. All right. So we've got those now 10 diaries completely unassigned to people. Fantastic. All right. What we should also now be able to do is register, right? Maybe. Who knows? Should have probably all broken still. Let's have a look. So I'm going to hit F1 to flip you back to Chrome. And I'm going to join you over there. And we should be on a Laravel page. And we're on the register page. So I'm just going to refresh that there. It does use CSRF tokens. So just need to be careful of that. Alex, yeah. And then password. Register. Boom, it's exploded again and told us app users not found. Fantastic. So that's a weird one actually. Let's have a look. This will obviously be as a result of the way it scaffolds out now. Yeah, like I say, I haven't done this before, so should be interesting. Okay, so according to that, we have an issue in our auth register controller PHP 67. So let's bring you back for the code and let's have a look. By the time I got there, I've completely forgotten what the issue was. Where are we? Register controller, obviously. All right, line 67. Is saying this user is undefined. So let's have a little look. We've got an app user. Well, I'll be damned. What on earth's the issue here? App user. User create. Name, email, password. So that's trying to use this. So this user is our user model that we created. It's trying to use this, which is So the issue here is it's missing a namespace, and I'm like, did I do that? I don't know at what point I deleted the namespace, but I must have done that. Anyway, right, okay. So we'll put the namespace back, and now it's actually called app/user. So with a little bit of luck, the register controller will be able to find it. So jump back, Chrome. And let's go back to the register route, and let's slap in my details again. Could have just hit refresh to be fair, but I just want to be clear. I always like to run things clean. So you are logged in. Bingo. And we're on the home route. And that home route, if you remember, is the route that we were getting kicked off of earlier. We have our name up in the top right hand corner, and we have a logout button. And we're back to hello world, it's a me, Habalytics. So if we go to home now, we're going to get kicked to that login. Any love for the login register flow that I just messed around with? I quite like that. Out the box. Oops. What do I do now? I've done the wrong one. F1. There we go. No, you want code. Cool. Alright, we have login and registration. Should we commit that and get it up on the server? I think we should. Or should we make the views prettier? Nah, let's just get it up on the server. So, git status to find out where we're at. We've got a lot in here. I'm just going to review, have a little look through what we've created. Everything looks right. Yeah, nothing untoward in there. So I'm just going to git add, capital A. Git status. They should all be green now. Perfect. and we'll git commit, for which I'm going to need to plug my key in. Git commit adds Laravel Ui auth scaffold. Oh, actually we did a load of other stuff as well, didn't we? Adds our base models and Laravel Ui auth scaffold. Type my PIN number, which I have to literally scream at myself not to read out to you. Push the button. Boom! We have a commit, and we can git push up to master. Off it goes. All right. So with a little bit of luck, our GitHub actions now are already going. Look. Didn't even have to refresh the page, it's just off. Off it goes. So we can have a quick look in here and we can see it's running all of our actions. It's still in our dependencies and it's about to deploy it. Done. Excellent. You can say that deploy step has only updated, which should have only updated the files that have actually been changed. Cool. However, like I touched upon, this hasn't, or it will not work. So if we go to hablytics.com now, that works. Excellent. The /homework kicks me to the login page. We need to register. Let's type in my details. This time I won't use password as my password. Let's use, I was about to say I'll use this suggested password, but obviously it's just, can you see that? Yeah, you can. There needs to be a one password facility to basically star out the suggested password when you're on a stream or something. I don't know. I guess I'll have to make one up. There we go. I've typed in a password. If you can guess it, I guess you get admin rights and you can give yourself and do whatever you like. I'm probably going to forget that password. Okay, register. Although I say all of this, it's going to explode, because we've done none of the connection stuff on the server, right? We've done. I mean, I think we have a database on there. I'm not too sure, but we certainly haven't migrated. So let's go and have a look at what's going on the server. I'll flip over to the terminal now for you and open up the terminal. Should be good to have a little look around. Right. Awesome. Now, does anyone actually remember if I set up MySQL on this image last time? I mean, it's a lemp stack, so MySQL should be running. Yeah, we've got 5.7. I guess the... what's going on? There we go. I've got to remember now. Does anyone actually genuinely remember if I set up a database or not? I guess I can have a look. Show databases. There's no one in there. That's a good sign. Alright. Show. And we need to create said database, right? Moment of pause as I try and remember how to do that. So, create database Hablytics. No, apparently not. Right, so I probably should look this up. So I'll look up create new MySQL database and grant. Because it's basically, there we go. Oh, apparently no quotes. Fair enough. So Then we need to create a user, which we can do with create. Hang on a minute, I'm just looking at the stream, and it looks like the terminal's all messed up. Hang on a minute. That's a bit better. All right. Cool. What do we want to do? We're going to create a user now, and it's going to be Hablytics at localhost. Good, and then we're going to say we can use, yeah, there we go. There's a new thing. We're in 5.7, we are 5.7, yeah. So we can use this this little command here. Oh god. Okay, that didn't work, did it? What's going on? Oh dear. Create. Yeah. Why does it keep going a bit weird? I don't know whether that's my terminal, the zoom, whether it's Mysql. I don't know. At localhost identified with MySQL native underscore password by, and then we give it a password of Hablytics. Perfect. Now we just need to grant the user access to it. So oops. So grant all on Hablytics dot star. So the database to Hablytics. Backspacing is weird. Hablytics at localhost, I think. A little quick look. Yeah. Semicolon. Got a weird weird prompt. Okay, I don't think that worked. We're missing a Jesus. Something really weird going on with the typing on here. Hablytics dot. Does that star need to be in? No, I don't think so. No, but it doesn't need to be in quotes apparently. So just Hablytics dot star. Oh, not 8. 2. Hablytics at localhost. There we go. Alright, so that should be good now. We should have a database with Hablytics, a Hablytics database with a Hablytics user and a Hablytics as that password. So let's have a look in our ends and check what we've got set up in here. So database, Laravel, DB username or root, DB password. No. So let's edit that. DB connection, yep. DB host, yep, that's local host. DB database, oops. It's going to be Hablytics. Username, Hablytics. Oops. Password, Hablytics. Perfect. Escape. Colon, WQ. Good old Vim. Alright. Now we should be in a position to migrate. Now we can do that here, or we can do that as part of the action. I'm going to do it here in order to work out whether or not it will work, and then if it does work, we can do it via the action. So PHP artisan migrate, bingo. Worked first time. Excellent. So we've now created the database. We've now migrated the database. So we should be able to register again. Let's have a quick look. So we'll go back to the SQL state error page. We'll hit enter on the registration, and let's have another go at that. So Alex developers.com, incredibly secure password, and hit register. Logged in, fantastic. So we're now creating users, and we're now communicating with the database on our DigitalOcean server. However, if we are to do any more migrations, any more updates to the database, I don't want to log into the server and update it myself. So what we can do is we can get the GitHub action to do that as part of its migration. So we will flip back to code, and we will come to our GitHub directory and to our workflows. It annoys me that's called PHP, but we'll stick with it. Now, in our steps, we've got a final step to deploy to DigitalOcean, and we can give it a postscript that I believe it will run on the server, but I guess we're going to find out. So, we can ask it to run PHP artisan migrate, and what I might also just do is just to check, make sure that it is in that directory, we're going to cd to it. We do have the directory. Oh, it's not a secret. We have the directory here. So cd to that and PHP artisan migrate. Save. So now, if we trigger the, oh no, we don't trigger it. We will come over here and we need to commit it. What are we looking at? Yeah, this is it. So git status, we've changed that GitHub file, so we're going to add that, all of those, and we're going to commit and say add postscript, postscript, yeah, to run artisan migrate. Hey Hamza. I forgot what's in my password now. Don't read it out. There we go. Signed. Alright, push. Okay. So if we go back to our actions, we can see this one is running now. And with a bit of luck, the postscript will work. And what we'll get is a... Oh, actually, depends. Depends if... Here we go. What? Well, we'll see. See what it says. Nothing to migrate. Perfect. So that's the response from PHP artisan migrate. Now, the thing that was a little bit... possibly might not have worked was if we just jump back into the SSH and into the DigitalOcean server, which you don't appear to be on. Hang on, make it bigger for you. If we just jump onto the SSH server, and we just have a quick look at env, what I suspect is the case is yeah. We have this app environment, at the moment it's on the local. That's fine for development, and so is this fine for development as well, but we should probably update this as well. So what we'll need to do is put this in production, and what it will do then is it will stop dumping errors to the page. So you know how we registered a moment ago on the server and saw an SQL error. That's not great in production. You don't want to be leaking those errors. You want those tucked away in your logs, sent away to your Sentry server or whatever, and just a nice little 500 error page presented to the user. Now, in order to do that, you can just switch this app environment and this app debug flags. So let's just open that up in Vim, and we'll pop pop our app environment and we'll update that to be production. We'll say app debug is false and we'll update our URL to be hablytics.com. Perfect. Right, and quit. Now the production is, now that the app is in production, if I say PHP artisan migrate, it's going to pop up this little message saying, "Who you're in production? Are you an idiot? Are you sure? Are you sure?" That's fine. For us, we're all good. So we can migrate. We can say yes, but that's not going to work in CI or CD. So we can pass it the force and get that nothing to migrate again. So what we'll do is we'll just quickly update our post script here, which I'm hoping you're seeing in a moment, to say force, and then simply come back to terminal, git status, git add all the files because that's fine, git commit -m adds force flag to migrate as server in production. And we'll git push. Perfect. So our app's ready. It's running on our DigitalOcean server, and we've got login and registration views done. I'm not going to bother with making them pretty because that's not the point of this. It's a concentration on Laravel, and quite frankly, I am not the kind of person to make things look pretty. I just cheat and use Tailwind or something. So I will. I've got a bunch of views that we're going to build up. Now, what's the time? What are we looking at? Got 30 minutes. Cool. I'm going to make up a bunch of views now, and those views are going to be basic. They're going to be using, pretty bulk standard HTML elements. We're not going to really be styling any of this. And then during the downtime, off screen, I think they call it in the stream world, I will update those to be Tailwind. So I've got a bunch of Tailwind views for all of this stuff, which I can add in, assuming that's okay with everybody. I can maybe do one or two of the components and then in Tailwind style, and then just start copying, pasting, or whatever. But I will go over the root of the view, basically, the looping over the elements that we're passing in, and that sort of stuff. Not too bad, Hamza. Not too bad. Not very chatty in chat today, and we've got Chris dropped out though. Yeah, see, Chris is a source for a little bit of trolling, a little bit of joking around from time to time. Not today. I'll have to have him back on form next week. All right. Cow pun. Yeah, exactly. There was cow puns. There was all sorts of puns. You gotta up your pun game. Like while Chris is away, everyone needs to up their punnage. Excuse me. Just dying over here. Right. Cool. What's next? What do we need to do? Well, we need to have a page after you've logged in, right? You log in, what's the first thing you're going to see? The diaries, right? The diaries that you've got. So, if we flip over to our code now, I can't see where you are. You are at code, that's brilliant. Let's come in and have a quick look at our HTTP controllers that were created as part of those -a commands. Okay, we have our diaries, right? So these should be registered under our roots web. So I'm just going to double click on this so it stays open, and then we're going to click over here, and we're going to see that no, in actual fact, it is not hooked up. So we're going to come along and we're going to say, I think I'm not too sure, and the syntax to be honest is usually created for me again. We need the manifest for a resource root. Resource controllers. Alright. So we'll say it's a root resources, and then we can pass in an array to this with the URL endpoint, or the endpoint. And we'll call that diary, and we're going to say that that goes to the diary controller, like so. Now I think a bunch of this stuff is also set to change in Laravel 8. So I know for a fact this will be of a new format in Laravel 8. So this would be like this, I think, in Laravel 8. So be on the lookout for that. There, I mean, there's great upgrade guides with every version. It even tells you or suggests how long it should take you, which is always interesting. It's like HelloFresh recipes when they're like, yeah, this will only take you 25 minutes, and 25 minutes later you're still chopping the onions. But anyway, that's the new way of doing home controller roots in Laravel 8, but I believe this is changing as well, but I don't know how. Or it will have already changed, I guess. I can have a quick look. Version 8. Resource controllers. Haven't changed yet then. I could have sworn that they were planning on changing that stuff. Curious. Alright, so we've got a diary, and we'll want to hook that up to the diary controller, this diary controller for the resource. Now, it's pretty simple at this point. We just need to start hooking all of this stuff up. So, an index view, we're going to want to get the user's diaries, so the diaries that belong to the user that we've got currently logged in. And there's a couple of ways to do that. So what we will be doing at some point is ensuring that you can only access this controller if you're logged in, but for now we're just going to concentrate, and we can use some middleware to do that. So we don't need to look into the controller to do any of that stuff. What we will do though is we will need the user. So if we use the auth facade, sorry, it's got yeah, exactly. It's looking to change to that. Although, can you do? You can still do it with a string, right? Like this. I guess it would be namespaced. Yeah, you're right. Sorry. So I did. Yeah, there we go. I'm breaking my own rule, to be honest, because I was saying earlier that I usually use imports to name these. So that would actually be that. Or as Hans has put in chat, you can just do that : class static to get the name, and therefore get those weird breakage, or not weird breakages, but recognized breakages when you do update names. All right, so diary controller, we're going to get a user. There's no string with class name controller class. I don't follow, sorry. We're going to use the auth facade to get the current user, and we'll need to type in that. I'm going to have to go and look it up now. Just look up the namespace, basically. I'm pretty sure it's Illuminate HTTP support. Oh, I'm in the 8 docs, which means it's talking about Jetstream. That's another thing to talk about, I guess, as well. User controller : class is not a string. Is it not? Well, I'll be down. What is it? User. Yes. That's weird though. Yeah. Yeah, you can still use that. Use it that way if you'd like. You can just put that in instead. Chat's over that way, by the way. If you're wondering why I was looking over. Right, cool. We've got a user and we need their diaries. So, do we have that relationship yet? No. So this is where we need to create it, right? So we have a relationship between diaries and users. What we also need to do is establish a relationship between users and diaries, and that will be through that same pivot table. So we can come in here and, to be honest, copy most of this. So we'll come across, we'll say that a user has diaries and that they belong to many diaries, and we just need to make sure that we import that here. And we're good. So we now should be able to ask a user for the diaries they've got. Where were we? In diary controller. So we can ask the user for the diaries they've got. And we are pretty much there. So this is where we need to return a Illuminate HTTP response as it's suggesting. So what we can do is we can use another one of the helpers. We can use the view helper. Now this helper is going to go and load us a view. So if we come into our resources section over here and come into our views folder, we're going to find those auth views that were created. We're going to find the default app layout that's also been created along with those auths. And we're going to find home and splash. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new folder. We'll call it diary. And inside diary, I'm going to create a new file, and it's going to be indexblade.php. And excellent, Sublime is freaked out, which is good to see. It's basically it's not aware of its own folder that's created. I might have to close and start again. Yeah, brilliant. You know, look, can you open that, please? God damn it! Right, one moment. At least Chris isn't here still. Diary view. There we go. Can you see that? No, it's tiny. Is it tiny? It's big. It's big again. Right, there we go. Cool. We have our index view now in diary under views. So in here, what we can say is that we are wanting to load the diary.index view, and we can pass it some data. So we're going to pass it some data as the diaries key, and pass it, lo and behold, diaries. So now we have a view here, index view here, that has access to a diaries variable. Excellent. Now, next step. I want to test this, right? I want to see it. And I'm going to go about that in a slightly weird way, I guess, is the answer. One moment. Brain. The brain is going to catch up in a minute. What's brain catch up? Hang on a minute. It's getting there. It's booting up. Right, yep. I've remembered what I was going to do. Brilliant. We have Tinker, right? And we have... Usually it will find it. I don't know why it's not doing that at the moment. we have our user, but we don't have any diaries. So let's just create one. We'll use that factory again, which is where these come in useful. We'll create a diary, and I'll just pass that to create. Oops, I think that's class. Perfect. We've got a diary ID. Oh, I'd already created some, hadn't I? Okay, fair enough. All right. So now we need to attach it. And this is where we're going to potentially find that I've created all of those pivot models wrong. So wish us luck, wish us luck. We have an ID of 11 for a diary, and we have our user. So let's just have a look at our user attribute. We've got this diaries. So what I can do is I can say user find, and we'll find the user with the ID of 1. And we can say diaries. But notice this time, what we will use is we'll use the method version of that. So there's two ways of accessing a relationship on a model. We've got a method here. If you call it without the method, you're going to, for crying out loud. I'm going to import that, hang on. I don't know why. Usually Tinker will go and have a little look for something that's called user. And it will usually go, I'm just going to auto import it, but for some reason it's not doing that at the moment. There we go. So there's the answer. Habalytics.diary_user does not exist because I have created it as anyone? Diaries. So we're going to have an issue here. One of those issues is that we've messed up this, right? The other issue is that we've already migrated our production database. So we're going to come in here and I'm going to update them to reflect what it's looking for. So base table of view not found, Habalytics diary_user. Okay, so let's update it. Oops. Diary_user, and we'll rename the migration itself, so the file name. And if you update a file name like I've just done, you need to make sure that you follow suit and change the class name. It's going to load these migrations from this folder. It's going to follow a very strict format, and what it is going to do is look for a class that that matches the name. So you'll notice here we've got plural, so we just need to come in here and replace the plurals with singular versions of themselves. Save that, and we'll do the same to the diaries and tags one, because the problem is going to be in that as well. So we're diary_tag, and we're going to rename the file to follow suit diary tag, and we're going to update our class name, so diary and tag. Perfect. Now we should be good, but we're going to need to forcibly remigrate our database, because we're not going to get those tables. We haven't created them yet. I mean, we could migrate, but what we will then do is we'll have the old tables that were wrong. So we're going to run the migration command, and this time we're going to use that fresh command again. And this is going to roll back. With fresh, it's just going to drop. So it's going to drop all of the tables, and then it's going to create them all brand new, which means we no longer have our user. We don't have any of the 11 diary tags that we created. So let's go and quickly register. Pop over to Chrome, load up our local version, register, oops, register, password, register. Boom, we're logged in. Excellent, excellent. Alright, so now we can go back to the terminal and back to the world of Tinker, because we do actually have the correct pivot tables now, or at least I suspect we did. So we're going to import the user. We're going to import diaries. We are then going to make sure that we've still got a user with ID 1. There they are. Perfect. We're going to have a look at their diaries. They have none, but what we do notice here is there's no massive error now. We've got no SQL state issue. It has connected. It is good to go. Like I say, there's two ways of accessing this. So if I pass in the method, I'm going to actually get back the belongs to many class with any configuration that we've already set up on that, which means I can then use the methods on the belongs to many to associate things with that relationship. We don't have a diary yet, so I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. So we'll go factory, diary, class, and let's just create one for now. Boom, we've got our ID 1. So now we should be able to say user find diaries, and I'm probably going to use the wrong one because I always use the wrong one, but with a little bit of luck it's associate 1. Yeah, no it's not. It is attach. There we go. Moron. Alright, so we attached that diary, and now we can go back and call that diaries, and with a little bit of luck we will see, yep we do, that the user Juan now has some diaries. It is this one we just looked at, and we can also see the pivot. So this is the table that's sitting between, that's carrying that user ID and the diary ID, and also the timestamps at which that actual relationship was created, rather than the people either side, or the models, the entities either side. Sweet. So our user has some diaries. So we are now good to set up that route. We've got the route set up, right? We've got the we're getting the user from the auth, we're getting the diaries, and then we're passing that to the view. So I guess we should go and have a quick look what it looks like, and points for anybody who can guess, but it's obviously going to be a empty page, or it's going to be this, whatever this is. Oh. Just an empty use statement up here, but I think I was meant to finish off the auth request here. So, like I say, not too sure where the namespace is for auth, so we're just going to quickly look it up. In fact, Sublime might go and get it for me. And not that one, it's that one. So, illuminate support facades auth. Now, facades are a way of statically accessing public methods on a class. I don't know whether it's unique to Laravel, but it's quite a nice feature of Laravel. You can create your own at any point. You create a facade accessor, and you can create basically facades of your static classes. Sweet, so we're pulling in the auth facade, which will give us access to this auth user method, which will get us a currently logged in user, and then we'll extract the diaries from them and pump them to the model, or to the view. So we now go back, oh, save it. Now go back. We've got a blank page. Yeah. This is when I'm going to show you a pretty neat little fit. Oh my word, I've just checked out the stream and I think I'm miles behind. Wow, yeah, okay. That's just got slower and slower. Weird. Alright, we've got a blank screen. But why we've got a blank screen is because obviously I haven't filled in the view at the moment. But the reason I haven't filled in the view is because I want to show you something else that's pretty cool. It's called debug bar. And I think it's installed by default now. It's by, there we go. I'm pretty sure. Oh no. No, it's not installed by default, but we can install it with Composer. Okay. So if we come along to, I'm just checking what you're seeing at the moment, a lovely blank screen. So if we come along to Composer, to the terminal, sorry, we'll just quit out of Tinker, and we'll say Composer require Barry VDH Laravel debug bar, and we've just passed the -- dev flag so that this Composer package only gets loaded in development, basically. Or rather, when you've asked for Composer to only install or install dev requirements. It says it right there, for example, including required dev. You can ask it to do a production install, and it will ignore those dev string or those dev packages. 221. Come on, we can show a list of diaries by the end of this evening, or by the end of the stream. I'll be happy. Well, not happy, but. Yeah, we might be able to get all the views done next week, but I very much doubt that, to be honest. Especially when Composer takes half a year to load. Any questions, I guess, while we're waiting for Composer to load? Too late. Okay. Do I prefer I don't really have a preference, if I'm honest. Hamza's asked, do you prefer to put all your models in the models folder? I was chatting about that at the start. There's Laravel 8. That's where they are now. So there was a massive discussion. I think back before Laravel 5, they always used to be watch this space, Matthew. So before Laravel 5, I'm pretty sure it used to be in a models directory, and then they moved it out of the models directory and put them at the bottom there in app namespace. And I've got to say, at the time, I was a bit like, why have you? No. Why is they just no? It's horrible. But kind of got used to it. There is an argument for it. I think the argument for it is about everybody has models, right? Everybody has models, at least in an application, and that's where it's kind of the authority, the data in your app. But yeah, they are moving it to models, and I think it's optional. Excuse me. I think it's optional. I think you'll be able to turn it off so that you can still load. Well, to be honest, you can put them wherever you like, so long as you point at them when you're using them, I guess. So yeah, it is a very much of a preference thing, but my preference is basically I'll follow suit. I think I'll probably move to the models directory and move into there. Matthew, basically, watch this space. Yeah, watch this space. Basically, maybe next month, possibly. When there is a lot more, yes, yeah, exactly. Wait, when there is a lot of models, more than 10, it looks dirty. When they're not in a models directory, you mean? It is pretty dirty. To be honest, it just seems a bit weird that there's kind of floating there at the bottom, right? You've got all of these very specific namespaced folders, and then you've got these kind of weird dangling things, which is a bit strange. Yeah. I'm happy to go either way, to be honest. Not particularly bothered either way anymore, really. Pretty easy going these days, apparently. Right, so we've got debug bar installed. Now I can't remember how you activate this. I think it might just be activated because we've got app debug on. But we're about to find out it isn't. So, debug bar will be enabled when app debug is true. That's what it says on the docs. Huh. I don't see a debug bar in there, and I'm pretty sure we're in debug mode at the moment. Just spotted that you're not up to date with me, but that doesn't matter because there's nothing to see because it didn't work. Let's just have a quick look in the environment. Yeah, either orphaned or so high and so top level that they lord themselves over every other class in your system. They are basically the bread and butter. They're the thing that keeps everything together, right? So I guess there's that to argue for. I don't know. So for some reason we haven't got. I don't know why this debug bar is not working. It's really annoying. It's a really, really, really useful feature. For some reason, it's not wanting to load. That's really annoying. We're definitely returning a view here, yeah. Well, I don't know. I shall have a look at that in downtime. Let's just run this and see if this triggers it to. So that's just published its config file basically. You don't usually need to do that because it's just basically for overriding it. Ah, hello. Oh, okay. Weird. Set this environmental variable as well. True. One last attempt to load the actual debug bar on this page. Oh! I think it has loaded, but I can't see it. This page is suddenly wanting to scroll. Right? Yeah, it's loaded its assets. Weird. Okay, I'll get that working at some point in the downtime. Let us, really quickly, we've got 3 minutes. Let us get something on that page, right? So it's being this famous last words. It's being passed to this index view. So we should be able to diaries as diary. Whatever. And we'll have a list and li, and we'll print this out. You'll have to excuse me, I spent the morning writing React, so God knows if it's double braces or not. I've already got that end each, it's clearly not end each, so let's have a quick look, unless, yeah, now I've got the right highlighting going on. Share, oh, you can't see any of this, brilliant. I'll flip you over, 1 second, where's the button that I need? Code, there you go. You'll be able to see it now. Yeah, there we go, sweet. Cool, blade each. Oh, it's not even each. Oh, that'll be why. It's 4. Alright, this is where it just doesn't work. It's gonna be the course for the day. Hey! I don't know if you can see that, but oh look, the debug bar just turned up. Maybe it doesn't work when you don't render anything. That's annoying. Okay, well this is the debug bar. You can, if you wish, stick a load of messages in it whilst you're so you can sticks it in like session basically. Let me show you. If I come into the diary controller. And then just go in here and say debug bar info found diaries count. We also need to import the debug bar. I don't know where it lives. I don't need to do any of that stuff. I need the debug bar. Where is it? Oh, it's root. Nice. So when I load this view now, we should have some messages in the messages box. There we go. So this kind of like you can do that anywhere. So you can put that wherever you like. Thanks, Hamza. I'm always a bit weirded out when it's like a root level package like that. You can drop messages in there. You can see a timeline of the boot process and anything that was going on. You can see the view that's been consumed and the parameters that were passed to it. You can also see queries that were made, but what I'm looking for is there's a I could have sworn there was a way to look at the objects that you were loading into that view. But apparently not. Weird. Anyway, right, cool. But yeah, this is the debug bar. Did you know about all the requests, the session, anything that's in your session? Yeah, it's pretty cool. I think we'll probably, we definitely need to. I'm at the end of the time. Again, it's incredibly how little you can go through in 2 hours, but with a little bit of luck, that was somewhat useful. I don't feel like I covered much, but hopefully you learned something. So next week we will finish off this stuff. So you'll be able to see a list of your diaries, click through into your diary, see a list of the tags that are attached to it. And then we'll also obviously create those create screens. So a screen for creating a diary and managing a diary. In the actual application, if you've only got one diary, you don't actually see this screen. It jumps you through and just redirects you straight to the diary. Yeah. I guess any questions before I sign off? Anything you want me to cover next week that you're desperate to cover? Give us a shout, or shout here, shout on DM. If there's any priorities basically you want me to cover on next week, being potentially the last week, yeah, give us a shout. I should probably do one of these again at some point, and I should probably also do a little review of one of our 45-minute sessions on Statamic at some point, which is a CMS that plugs into Laravel and is freaking awesome. So yeah, stay posted. Yeah, hope that was useful, and see you next week. If not, tomorrow evening. Talking of Blitz, actually, Matthew, maybe that's where it came from. But we've got the author, whose name is failing me right now, coming to talk about Blitz.js, and yeah, the super hyper productive environment that it provides. I've only had a quick look at it myself. I'm holding off to be taken through it by the author. Question from Hamza: how are you planning to use for front end Bootstrapped or Tailwind? It will be Tailwind. It will likely be that I will be basically making a lot of these screens really basic, plain HTML, and then basically making them pretty offline to a certain extent, because it's not really, the front end stuff is not really for this. Wanted to concentrate on the Laravel nitties and gritties. Interactions, Ajax or Livewire. I'm just trying to think if there are any at the moment. So I don't think there are. There is some. We will be running some vanilla JS, just plain old vanilla JS, to implement perhaps some of the functionality, but all of the communication is done through posts, just HTTP. So it will be a form on the page that will get submitted. And the JavaScript there is basically just a timer to allow you to debounce that. So yeah, there'll be a very little whether or not we get to JavaScript next week. It's going to be I'll be amazed. Yeah, like I say, if there's anything you definitely want me to cover, give us a shout in the next week, and I'll kind of see if I can crowbar it in somewhere, and we'll have some fun. Right. Well, if there's no other questions, I'm going to wave you adieu. Bye, and like I say, see you tomorrow. We'll do some Blitz.js, and also keep your eyes peeled. We might be doing some of that soon. All right, cool. Pleasure. Thanks everybody. Maybe to keep Tailwind stuff live online. Okay. I mean, it's just the worry about how much I can get through. So what I might do, perhaps we could no offline coding. Maybe we make the next week's a little bit longer. We'll see how it works. How is season 2? Yeah, right. We have bloody season 10 by the time we've got there. Got all of this in. Hope if I didn't chat so much, perhaps. Yeah, I guess we can come back for a season 2, or we can do an extra long one next week. Or we'll work it out. We'll have some fun, I'm sure. How was 2 hours today? Would you be able to do another third hour perhaps next week? Up to you. But yeah, give us a shout. Anything you need to know, etc., etc. I'm always on the old Discord. Also, I'm seeing 7 concurrent viewers right now and 56 playbacks. So I've got 56 people playing in the background, 7 concurrent viewers. But what I'm getting at here is the 3 likes. I don't think 7 concurrent viewers and 3 likes makes... Like either the 4 people have hit the dislike button, which, that's fine, or 4 people haven't pushed the like button. I'm just going to sit here and stare at you until you push the like button. Anyway, see you later. See you tomorrow, etc., etc. Bye.